How did limited companies come into existence? What's going on, people? My name is Zulfikar and welcome to another video where we're going to be discussing the origin of the limited company, which for my American friends is the equivalent of an LLC. So picture this, a few centuries ago in good old England, you've got these rich merchants, these rich people, the affluent section of society. They own businesses, they're running the show, they're calling the shots. And back in those days, business obviously involved a lot of sea travel, so transport across sea. They'd be shipping goods around the world, going through obviously ships and boats and that kind of thing, which obviously involved having a lot of crew on deck, a lot of sailors, a lot of seamen, and as you can imagine, with the technology that they had then, obviously the ships weren't as strong as they are today, although obviously they were pretty strong. But what it basically meant is that there were a lot of accidents at sea. A lot of people died, a lot of people never came back, and it created quite a bit of problem for these rich people because they were ultimately liable for those employees, whether they had to pay compensation to their families for the loss, or whether those families were just getting angry at them for basically putting their men at risk at sea. So this problem was obviously causing a lot of grief to these rich people. So what did they decide to do? Well, therefore, how can we solve this problem? Like every entrepreneur does, how can we solve problems? And the problem for them is, how can we have complete ownership, total control? How can we keep raking in the benefits and the profits, but have none of the liabilities? Well, this is how they did it. They created a separate legal entity. A separate legal entity, which meant they still owned it, they were still in control, they still had total power, and they were able to use it for all of their benefits and take all of the money and the profit, but have none of the liabilities, because now when something went wrong, because it was a separate legal entity, a limited company, it was the company that was responsible for anything that went wrong. It was the company that had all of the liabilities. So if something went wrong with dead sailors, it was the company's fault. It was the company's responsibility. And if things got too much, they just closed the company down, in terms of if they had to pay too much compensation or if they had to pay out people. They just shut the company down, which means the actual owners themselves, not a problem anymore. And because of the nature of the limited company, you don't always know who the owner is, you don't know who the shareholders are. So if people did have a problem with the company, well, they couldn't attack the owners anymore because they just didn't know who the owners were. And that's how a limited company was born. It wasn't for business, it was to protect wealthy individuals from liabilities for anything that went wrong. And of course, just like today, rich people then had influence over politicians, and governments and judges, so it was very easy to bring that into law and bring it into practice. And this is something which still carries on today. I mean, have you ever wondered why the law is so complicated? Like, it is so unnecessarily complex. Have you ever picked up a statute? Have you ever tried to read law? I mean, I've had years and years of training on how to read law, and I still find it baffling. But there's a point, there's a reason why they've done it that way, because they don't want ordinary people like you to understand the law. They don't want you to understand your rights. They don't want you to understand anything, whilst they've got the money to employ other people to create intricate arguments to get them out of loopholes, while you peasants don't know what's going on. And that's the whole point of having a complex legal system. So that's how the limited company started, very humble origins, but then it turned into a corporation that was used to conquer. And in the next video, I'm going to talk to you about exactly how a corporation was used to conquer empires. So click the subscribe button because you really want to stay tuned for that, because the episodes after that are going to be even more interesting, where we're going to go into how that still happens till this very day. So hit the subscribe button, let me know your thoughts about this video, and I will see you in the next one. Take care now. Bye bye.